Well, Tara Kangarlou is a journalist and author. She joins us now live from London. Tara, thank you so much for your time. How much of the US rhetoric, sanctions, troop build-up in the Middle East is part of Trump's plan to get Iran to the negotiating table, do you think?
I think it's very interesting. What we heard from the President of the United States was in complete contrast with his comments from last week, which were very much threatening and aggressive toward Iran. And I think what's important is to understand how the Iranian government would look at this, and in this case would be complete and utter inconsistency. Because here the president is talking about not regime change and not wanting regime change and wanting Iran to comply to a treaty that would essentially prevent them from reaching a nuclear weapon. Well, Iran's argument will most likely be that we did comply by that treaty that was reached in 2015, and it was the United States that did not honor its word and pulled out of the accord. So, in a way, I think the president is will have a very hard time selling his now diplomatic and sincere narrative to Iran, whose regime believes in the United States' lack of honor and sincerity in standing by their word. So what comes next would be very interesting. And today, it's actually confirmed that the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, will in fact go to Iran to act as a mediator. So that's something to look forward to and see how that would unfold.
An interesting development for sure. It's well known that Bolton has wanted to engage Iran for a very long time. Trump seems to be almost trying to avoid conflict. Do you think Trump has the wherewithal to stick to his guns, or is he very much influenced by these characters in his administration, Bolton and Pompeo?
That's a great point. I think if the president is, again, sincere in wanting to engage in Iran diplomatically, he is essentially left with no choice but to fire Bolton. And this is something that the North Koreans have, in fact, requested in their negotiations with the current administration. They don't want to work with Pompeo, and they have blatantly asked the administration to send someone else who's more, quote-unquote, mature to deal with them. And I believe at this point, if the president wants to work with Iran diplomatically, he has to do it without John Bolton, who for the longest time, even before this administration, has been beating the drums of war and confrontation with Iran. And one last point I would make on this is that the president is very keen on winning the next round of presidential election in the U.S. in 2020, and his biggest concern is, in fact, re-election. And a war with Iran, or, as a matter of fact, a war anywhere in the world, unless justified fully, will not win him re-election. And the engagement and the confrontation with Iran is certainly not justified by many folks in the U.S., including those in the Congress and Senate.
Thank you so much for that. That's Tara Kangarlou, a journalist and author, live from London. Thank you.